fellas? What's happening? I love this Junior. I'm playing this 55 Junior again. This is an original 55 that's looks better than any reissue I've seen. Hard Rock and Steel, Spruce King, K. Knut Berga, Javier. Good to see you guys. Thanks for dropping in. That's a good sound, man. Those 50s pickups are just the best, man. You know, it's funny. Michael said he talked to Joe and didn't get a good offer on it. So. Which he's kind of known for, I'm just going to say. He's a frugal guy. A lot of people will sell him guitars at a discount because they want to say they sold a guitar to him. Michael does not care about that. Michael used to hang out with Eric Clapton. He lived with the band. He played in Paul Butterfield's blues band. He's like, yeah, whoever these kids are, I don't care. Man, this guitar sounds good. I would definitely change these damn tuning keys the minute I bought it. Like I would show up with money and a screwdriver. Because they are 72-year-old, 71-year-old. Hey, Howard, what's happening, dude? How you been? Anyway, Michael's not in an emergency to sell this, so he's not going to take lowball offers, but just in range, you know, anything in range. Man, I don't know about you, but that to me is just, hey, Mike, you made it in time. Got Michael to Temple's 1955 Les Paul Special here, which is literally 99.5% perfect. It's a museum piece. I really feel nervous playing it, to be honest. But that is just such a good rock and roll sound. I can't get over it. But all that good 60s and 50s sounds right there, man. You know. Damn, that's just right. That's an neck. That's better. Middle position. That's more a little Chucky. Hey, Hoss, how are you, buddy? Yeah, I just, Hoss approved. All dressed up like a downtown Christmas tree. Dancing and singing a rock and roll melody. She's a daughter of a well-respected man. Taught her how to judge and understand. Yeah, till she became a rock and roll music fan, and it was all over, right? Because she's a sweet little rock and roll. Daddy don't have to scold her. A sweet little man, god damn. Sorry, man, Chuck is the hot spot for me. Like, if you can get close to Chuck, you're touching, like, Genesis, right? This is the foundation of everything we do is Chuck Berry. You name any rock band, guitar band, whatever in the world right now, I can get on a whiteboard and draw them back to Chuck Berry. And that sound is, yeah, the place was packed. Both doors was locked. Well, the place was packed until the police knocked. Both doors flew back, but we kept on rocking. Oh, you're dropping out, Hard Rock and Steel? I keep getting buffering. Well, it seems to be good here. Oh no, no, really? Oh shit, I'm sorry. That's just some good old sound, isn't it? I know the picture is better on Facebook, but anyway, you get the idea. Good old guitar, good old rock and roll machine. So if anybody wants to sell a car and buy this thing, and these pickups are not weak. I mean, I only got the amp on 4 here. And if it's really dynamic, like if I lay into it, if I lay back and hit clinkers. It's getting a little better all the time. Haas got it. Sometimes I have little jokes in what I play, and Haas gets it every time. Let's get this back quite into better tune. Poor old girl. G wants to grab and go sharp. And I turn it down, doesn't do anything, and then I gotta go all the way under and pull back. I'm gonna go sharp. Yeah, new tuners, man. Anyway, who's got money and wants to buy a guitar right now? Peter and I used to work in his music store in Atlanta called Rhythm City. It got bought by Guitar Center, but for decades it was Rhythm City in Buckhead, Georgia, which is the Beverly Hills of Atlanta. After we worked there, I ended up moving out on 285 on Jimmy Carter Boulevard to a bigger place. Anyway, oh, I see what you're saying, Mark. Yeah, that's cool. YouTube has a better picture, I think, than Facebook. The sound's about the same, I think. But anyway, we used to manage this music store, and they had a huge wall, like twice as long as what you see here, with Les Pauls, just nothing but Les Pauls, hung up on on arms, 3 tall, and then we had Les Pauls 2 deep on the floor on music stands, and there was a little fence, you know, like a little wrought iron fence to keep people out of it. And that store was so busy that on Saturday afternoon, I used to stand up on that little fence. There'd be so many people in that store. It was just, you couldn't walk from one end to the other. Like as a sales guy, I couldn't walk from one end of the Les Pauls to the other. There was too many people. And I'd stand up and go, who's got money and wants to buy a guitar right now? And 4 guys would raise their hand. I go, meet me down at the end. And I would sell a bunch of guitars. So that's kind of what I'm saying here. Who's got money, wants to buy a guitar right now? Let's do it. Yeah, Mike, you knew George Luther. There's a whole Facebook group full of ex-Rhythm City employees. Our boss, George Luther, was quite the character. Rest in peace, George. George was a brilliant guy. I learned so much about business from George Luther and how to be a good salesperson without being pushy or manipulative. Just his thing was people come into a music store with money in their pocket and they want to buy something. Your job is to find out what that is. Don't force something down their throat. Find out what they really want and sell it to them. And it was a great philosophy. But he also said, look, when somebody comes in the store, lock the door. They came in with money. They want to buy something, whether they know it or not. No one walks into a music store to browse, right? They come in thinking, I'll find something I want to buy, right? I got a couple $100 burning a hole in my pocket. I'll find something. And he was right. He was always right about it. It was crazy. And but if you go on Facebook, you can see, God dang, a G string will not cooperate. 71-year-old guitar. There's a Facebook group for ex-Rhythm City employees, and we're all on there. And the stories will just make you die laughing. George was quite a character. And he was really funny, and he was a little bit crazy. Like, he had this Corvette, and one of the sales guys made a bet with him that it wouldn't fit through the front door. You know, we had two doors that opened like this. And it got stuck with him going through the door. So normal people would put it in reverse and pull out. George just gave it more gas, and it slipped through and hit the counter. You know, the showcase counters at the front of the store. That kind of crazy dude, man. And then we had, I think I've told you guys the story about the gongs and shooting them with pistols. Mike Leapchop's probably the only guy here who's understanding what this is about. I don't know if you remember, Mike, when you walked into Rhythm City, the drum section was back on the right, and there were all these gongs up on the wall. Peisty and, you know, stuff like that. Zildjian gongs. Really nice, expensive gongs. And if we had a particularly good Saturday night, you know, everyone there carried a gun. I don't know if you knew that or not, because Buckhead at night got a little bit dangerous. You know, it was all glass. Like, people could just bust the glass and start ripping guitars out and running off with them. That's really funny. Anyway, if we had a particularly good Saturday night, we would get drunk and shoot the gongs because they looked like bullseyes and ruin them. George didn't care. He made so much money. He's like, throw it away. I don't care. Anyway, what we didn't think about was behind that wall was the keyboard storage room. And so, you know, we'd sell stuff, and then some guy would come back on a Tuesday and go, hey, I bought this Yamaha DX7, and there's a hole in the bottom, and it doesn't work. We'd be like, oh, shit, that's a bullet hole. Yeah, let's get you one that works. And then George Luther being, Mike, I know you're laughing your butt off right now because you remember George. George Luther would then call up that people were bringing in amps that nobody wanted anymore. And in the 80s, no one wanted a non-master volume amp. Like, old Fenders and old Marshalls were useless. Couldn't give them away. So Peter and I scooped them all up. They'd come in on trade, and George would be like, oh, hey, listen, I don't want that thing. God damn, will sit here for 6 months. George, I'll buy it from you. Well, how much are you going to give them on trade? You know, like $300? You give me $325, you can have it. Okay. So Peter and I bought Marshalls, blackface Fenders, tweed Fenders, Ampegs, you name it, all kinds of fun little amps. And then we just sat down to shocking ourselves, learning how to modify them or make them right or make them gainy, make a Fender sound like a Marshall, you know, that kind of stuff. Mike says, I cut a lot of grass to buy gear in that place during high school. Yeah, it was a really fun place to work. And you remember the Buckhead store? It was a really nice part of town. So we got a lot of really well-heeled customers, but then we also got everybody from the rural surrounding places came in on Saturday and Sunday. And it was just packed. It was exciting. It was adrenaline filled, you know, and man, we could not move. It was just incredible. Like, I remember, you know, some Saturday afternoon where we'd sell like 47 guitars. You know, stuff like that. Just crazy. Which, you think about it, you know, we're only open from like 10 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, so 8 hours. You know, it's like selling a guitar every 20 minutes. Out the door. Bing, ding, see you later. Here's money. Still not right, darn it. That G string is supposed to grab on the nut. I'm watching the tuner. But anyway, Peter and I got to play a lot of guitars and a lot of amps. And it kind of helps you figure out that, like, every amp has a sweet spot, you know. But then we walked away with a lot of knowledge in our brains of, I really like this amp, I really did not like that amp. I mean, so many good used amps. And George did not want them. Get them out of my store. So we just scooped them up like crazy. Remember one time Peter got a Princeton there and put two 6L6s in it. and a 50-watt power and output transformer set Fender. And it was from a low-powered twin, and called it a Twinston. And I had a little JBL speaker in it. It was louder than shit. And he'd go to jam. People go, "You really? You brought a Princeton?" And he'd go, "Oh, you just wait." Yeah. Man, this guitar is really nice, guys. I'm not trying to sell it for my friend. I'm just telling you, it's nice. I wouldn't mind selling it for him. He's not going to pay me. I'm not getting anything out of it. Let's go a little more gain and see what's up. Out of 10 already. Yeah, it's got it. Again, I'm not a big fan of Foreigner. I just like that song for testing guitars. I mean, these are 6L6s, so it's not like a Marshall. Hey, Steve Kirk, how are you, buddy? Yeah. Danny like. Got that sound. You know, when I first moved to Atlanta, the Georgia Satellites were really big, right? The worst song they ever recorded was their biggest hit, right? Keep Your Hands to Yourself. Still a fun song, but they had a lot better songs than that. Yeah. But they could swing, man. The rhythm playing was so good. I got a little change in my pocket. Even that dumbass song, right? It was so good. Gonna jing-a-lang-a-lang, wanna call you on the telephone, baby, give you a ring. First time I went there, they were playing in a bar called Hedgens in Atlanta. Mike, you might remember Hedgens. I think it was right down, was it Peachtree or Roswell Road? Can't remember. Anyway, they were louder than shit. And Rick Richards was playing a Junior through a 100-watt, high-watt half stack. And they were playing all that stuff. And it was like, whoa. Atlanta was a serious, loud rock and roll town. Yeah. Let's see if we can get this G string to cooperate here. Sorry. Yeah, it just wants to go sharp. It's like it's grabbing in the nut or something. Weird, huh? Yeah, way sharp. And there we go. And then it lets go. That's all fixable. Those are very good locking tuners, Bob. They work really well. I've fallen in love with locking tuners, actually. You don't really need them, but they do enhance your guitar. I mean, tuning stability is great. I'm not going to put those on this guitar. This is not my guitar, and it's worth a fortune. But if I did buy this guitar, that's the first thing I would do. 6L6 distortion is so weird. I'm so used to EL84s and EL34s. It's a ringer. All those sounds. Steve Carrick says, do you like JJ EL34s? Yeah, I do. They all have different qualities. You know, the JJs are a little bright and spanky for me. Believe it or not, Electro Harmonics makes really good EL34s. And there's some Chinese ones that are actually pretty good. But honestly, like for all my old amps that I just buy old Mullards. Why mess around? They're not crazy. I mean, they're expensive, but you can find good ones for cheap. When my 50 watt Marshall gets here 2 weeks ago when Peter promised it, I'll show you. I'm going to put in some old Mullards. We'll bias it up, and it sounds, you'll never go back. I mean, it's a lot of money, you know, relative to buying fresh ones. Yeah, that's a big link there, was it? Yeah, you know what, Bob, I'm hip to all this stuff, and so is Michael. It's just an old guitar. Thank you, though. But anyway, the old Mullards just sound so good, and you know they'll last longer than you do. So why mess around? These are JJ 6L6s in here. They're pretty spanky, you know. Yeah, I like the JJ EL34s. When we did it on that prototype amp. We should do that again, I think. Because I had some, KT88s, EL34s, KT66s, right? And then we did one other one. Yeah, Valvo and Tongues rooms. Yeah, those are great. Valvos are Mullards. They're really good. Man, that's just... What's that song? Soundgarden, right? Maybe that's not quite dirty enough. We can go all the way over here. Anyway, you get the idea. Javier says, but if you do not use NOS on that old amp, modern tubes will burn up fast. It's correct, but it doesn't have anything to do with the tubes. The thing is the voltages are higher now than they were back then. Like, for example, I know you're in Spain. I think that's supposed to be 220 volts coming out of the wall. Now it's almost 240. So that's almost 80 more volts on the plates of the tubes. Like, so back in the 60s, people were expecting 215 or 220. Yeah, the JJ 6v6s are the best 6v6s made. I think they keep up with any old 6v6. That's a whole nother conversation. I'll ask you in a second here, Mark. I'm not sure. I'll tell you what I think I know. But anyway, like for American amps, in 1965, we'll just pick a year out of the blue. Most people, when they plugged into the wall, they were getting 113 to 116 volts, somewhere around there. Now, here in Los Angeles, I get about 124 out of the wall. So what that means is every voltage that every volt that it goes up, after it's rectified, it's really about 4 volts. So, If I'm getting 8 or 9 more volts out of the wall here, that's really 35, 40 more volts on the tubes. And that's what causes them to die. So a lot of amp makers, and they just copy old circuits. And that doesn't work. Gosh darn it, I get so many unwanted spam calls. Just nonstop. So our amps we have adjusted for modern voltages, so the tubes will be fine. But yeah, so like for example, most people have at one point in their life had a deluxe, right? A Blackface Deluxe, when it was brand new, the B plus voltage on it was around 400 volts, 410, somewhere around there, which is quite a bit already for a 6v6. And you plug it into a modern outlet, it's going to go up to 430 or 440. So that'll cook stuff. And a lot of those caps in that amp are actually just 400 volt caps. So you're pushing them beyond their design specs. So you'll see a lot of Bob Dragic, good call here, JJ2, some Euro tubes. Yeah, those are great. I use Marty here at ARS. He also tests them. Alternating current is dangerous and communist. So it's a good point. Voltages have gone up, but modern tubes have both lower vacuum as well as cathode coatings are bad. So they don't last near as long anyway, even under proper working conditions. Like, for example, JJ EL84s, which I think sound as good as any vintage EL84 ever made. They're only really good for about 100 hours of hard use. Then they start to brown out. Whereas if you had a pair of old Mullards or something like that, they're good for about 1,500 hours. It's quite a bit of difference, right? But if you take the JJs and put them in at ridiculous high voltages in an old amp like that, they're only going to be good for about 40 or 50 hours. So it's a combination of all that stuff. But if you have an old amp, buy old tubes. It's what they were designed around. You know, when the guys at Marshall were putting amps together, they used Mullards. That was standard operating tubes then. There wasn't that much else around in Britain. And when Leo Fender and those guys were building amps, they used whatever was available. So what is going on back there? They used whatever was available. You guys hear that noise? I got a dog doing crazy stuff. Trip, what are you doing, buddy? So there's RCA, GE, Sylvania, Tungsol. Whatever their suppliers had in stock, that's what they used. And at the time, those were all really good tubes. There wasn't import Chinese tubes or other stuff around. It was just, you know, and these companies at one point were all military suppliers, because the military used to run completely on tube. Yeah, Javier, I've been hearing that for about 15 years. Western Electric supposedly working on a modern 12X7. I even got one of their prototypes in 2009, 2010. They sent them to me at my shop, my old factory in North Hollywood, and we played them, and they were okay. They just sounded like a 12X7. Only problem was they were $40. And at the time, I was buying really good 12AX7s for $11 or $12 back then. So $40 for a tube that just kind of sounded pretty good, you know. Wasn't amazing. It was a tough sell. But I don't know, are they still working on it? Is that what you've read recently? They're still working on that? Yeah, they sent me a bunch of 12X7s. Then there was that company that made the 12X7s that weren't really vacuum tubes. Like they were solid state, but they fit in a tube socket. I got those too. They sent me in to try. What are you doing, buddy? You got a dog right here. Got a border collie looking at me like, hey man, let's go outside and play. Are Mullards my favorite NOS preamp tubes? It depends on the amp. I mean, no matter what amp you're playing, a Mullard ECC 83, 12X7, is going to make the amp sound better. If you want a Fender amp to sound more Texas blues or country, Mullards are not the best choice. RCAs, GE, Sylvania. I personally like tongue saws. Those are my favorite. Not the reissue ones. They're not bad. The reissue ones aren't bad, but they don't sound like the originals. But if you can find real tongue saws from the late 50s, early 60s, those are killer tubes. They're always good, always. Even if they're down, like they're only reading 80%, buy them because that's stronger than any new tube made. But in British amps, it's, Mullards or Telefunkens for me. Mullards have that mid-range honk, 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 honk thing, which I put a Mullard in this, which is why you're hearing that, that. Hear that clanky sound? That kind of quack. That's because I put a Mullard in V1. That's an old Mullard. It's not super old. I think it's late 60s, early 70s. Still sounds great. Who cares? And it probably reads, it's in my desk. It's been here for years, which means it's not super great. It's probably reading 70% or something. Sounds great. Sounds better than any modern tube you can buy. But that sort of, when I do that, even with 6L6s, it's got that honky quack to it, which I really like. But anyway, yeah, man, a lot of it's personal taste. There's no real right or wrong. I hate to sort of pontificate and say, these are the best tubes made and you should buy these. Unfortunately, you got to kind of buy a bunch and you'll figure out what you like. And you'll be surprised that it's not what everyone else likes all the time, right? And if you read on forums and stuff, they make it sound like if you're really stupid if you don't buy this, And it's really just not the case. Your hands are different than mine. Your ears are different than mine. Your guitars are different than mine. So it's pretty subjective. There's no right or wrong. And if your favorite tube is some Chinese poo-poo tube, then use it. My God, who cares? I'm going to put this guitar up because it makes me nervous playing it. I'm terrified I'm going to scratch it or ding it. It has no scratches on it. And it's 71 years old, right? Hang on one second. So we'll get into the tube talk here. I'll tell you more. So it's a very interesting subject. And for years I was on the Tone Wizards panel at the LA Amp Show, with Miles Rose and Lonnie Spector and all those guys. And I was on there, with Mark Sampson, rest his soul, and Bob Galian and, all kinds of really cool amp dudes. And we were always supposed to sit around. 5751s are great. Yeah, you're right, Rob. It's very nice. But anyway, we're supposed to sit around and be talking about amp design and sharing stories or whatever. And every year, I did it for like 6 years, 7 years. Every single year, the conversation immediately went to, where can I get good tubes? That was it. Nobody cared about anything else, right? Sorry, move this a little closer. No one cared about anything else except for tubes. So I've been a tube nerd for a long time. When I first started playing guitar, I was 12, right? So I was 1977. The tubes that we consider holy grail tubes now were around everywhere. Just wasn't a big deal. I used to buy black plate RCAs for $2.50 from the radios. They used to have, guys old enough to remember this, when you had a tube television, every drugstore, every hardware store had a big cart where you could take the tubes out of your television or your stereo and put them in there and test them. And underneath there, they had tubes for sale. And it was RCAs and Sylvanias and GEs and tongue saws. They were $2 or $3. And so when I got my first amps, that's what I put in there. Now, some of the hi-fi places had Mullards and Telefunkens. Those were like $4, because they were imported. And when I got my first Marshall, one of the guys at this music store where I took guitar lessons when I was a punk, well, I'm still a punk, but young punk, told me you should go get, and I remember because he said Mullards, you should go get Mullards, and yeah, Bob, you were always there at those things, the Tone Wizards, Amp Guru sessions. They were really fun. But anyway, so I went to a hi-fi store, and there was none in my hometown of Columbia, Missouri. I had to go to Kansas City, I think, and I bought a whole bunch of Mullards and put them in my Marshall, and sounds great, That's really nice. Yeah, Radio Shack lifetime tubes, free replacements. A lot of those Radio Shack tubes were actually Mullards. Mullards sold tubes rescreened as whatever brand you asked for. So if you got like a Scott hi-fi, or what's the other big hi-fi in the 60s? I had a bunch of them. A lot of those tubes were just Mullards. It wasn't that big of a deal. So anyway, you get used to that sound, and it makes a big difference. But of course, they quit making those tubes 50 years ago. So you just take what you can get. And usually it's pretty good. Even a tube that's used and down, doesn't read 100%, who cares? And I've told you guys, some of you guys have heard me say this before, so I'll repeat it just in case. But 100% back then was the guaranteed minimum, right? The worst tube in the lot read 100%. Does that make sense? It's kind of backwards to modern thinking. Hold on. Trip, you gotta stop, man. That's not going to work, dude. You can't sit here and do that. So, anyway, so if you get a tube, it'll say, oh, it's a Mullard, but it only reads 83%. You know what modern tubes read? Modern brand new tubes with tissue paper still on them. They read 70%, 75%. Some are in the 80s. Oh, KTs. Yeah, KTs are good. There's just not a big audience for them. But I love KTs. The KT77s, which we tried in the prototype, I might do that. I love KT77s. I think they sound like old Mullard EL34s to me. They sound really good. But anyway, so if you're out shopping, if you said to yourself, I can't afford a good Mullard, or I can't afford a good RCA, you are incorrect. Because even buying one that's down, you're going to be buying a better tube than the best tube you can buy brand new right now. Tube manufacturers do not like to tell you that. But Blackburn's finest, that's right. The Mullards, when my Marshall gets here, they're all Blackburn Mullards. XF2 double halo. EL30, we're going Nerdville here. And then i6 preamp tubes, all from Blackburn factory, which is the peak of Mullard. It's understood to be the best sounding tubes made, were the Blackburns. And if you're getting EL34s, you got to get the double halo, not the single halo. That's the getter in the top. If you don't know what a getter is, Google it, I can tell you, but it's just a lecture. It will put people to sleep. But a getter, when they flash the tube and they fire it up for the first time, the getter attracts all the carbon and pollutants inside the tube. So if it has a double getter on it, guess what? It's cleaner than hell. And it works really well. So anyway, that was a long answer to a short question. The best thing you can do, and it's a bit of an investment, but it'll save you money for the rest of your life, is buy a good example of all the big major tubes from back then. In Europe, you've got, Mullard, Telefunken, Valvo, Amperex. They all have a different character. I have an opinion on what each one sounds like, but it's subjective to me. Mullards have that good mid-range honk that I want, and if you're playing on stage, that sticks out in the mix better. The Telefunkens are very smooth and hi-fi sounding, and they're delicious. They're really good, but when you're playing in a band, they don't really jump. But when you're sitting around playing by yourself, yeah, sure, Mike. They're really good. Amprexes are very lively. Amprexes are very lively, jumpy tubes. Valvos are really great tubes. A lot of them are actually just Mullards. Valvo leased out their factory to make Mullards. So you'll see Mullards with the Holland factory on it. That's Valvo, same place. So of the European tubes, I like them all. If I have a Marshall that's particularly bitey or grainy sounding, I'll put a Telefunken somewhere in there. I mix them around until I go, oh, it's really good here, you know. And every amp is different. It's not the same with every one. I wish I could just say, always put a, you know, Telefunken in the phase inverter. Well, you'll turn out pretty good if you do that. But also works really great in V1, you know, the tube that's directing the whole amp, right? So it's really good. So Mike Leaptrot asked a good question. I don't know about that Dr. Z amp, Mark. I've never played it. I do know that Dr. Z makes good stuff, and Mike Zate's a good guy. That's all I can tell you. Yeah, Amprexes are great. So Spruce Creek here saying his favorite are the Amprex, you know, tubes. They're really fun. They're lively, jumpy tubes. They're almost kind of feral, you know, like they get a little wild, and they're fun. But okay, long plate versus short plate 12X7s. So let me get a tube out here, and I can show you, and probably one of each. Indeed, I can. And I'll tell you why you care, right? So this is a long plate. Let me put my glasses on here really quick. I don't know who makes it. Glasses look funny with headphones on. This is a Mullard. No, it's a reissue Mullard. But anyway, it's a Russian Mullard. So but I'll hold the plates up so you can see the difference, right? Yeah, it's a reissue. I got fooled until I put my glasses on. See the difference in the size of the plates in there? So in modern terms, think of that as bandwidth. The short plate tube like this, they don't sound awful, but they have less bandwidth than a long plate tube like that. So what happens is in a tube, the way this is, there's two triodes, and each one, see these sections here? Each one of those is a circuit. So what happens is you heat up the negative end of the tube, which is called the cathode, and then there's a grid in the middle, like literally a screen. It looks like your screen door. And you run electricity into that, which is your guitar signal, right? And it excites the environment in there, which is negative. Electricity always flows from negative to positive. Remember that, it goes from ground up, not down to ground. So when it excites the environment in there, because there's no oxygen, right? It's clean. The positive side of the tube, which is called the plate, you've probably heard this before, attracts negative ions through that screen. So those ions are flying to hit the plate, right? So when you have a short plate, it can receive less ions. And when you have a short plate on the cathode, it's throwing less ions, right? Or atoms, you know, I forget whichever one it is. So you can see, you can quickly imagine here how the long plate tube, this one here, right, can throw more data around. I'm using modern internet, you know, computer terms. So it makes a big difference. It makes a very big difference on which tube you're using. So the only thing is, if you're playing a very high gain amp, this tube's going to distort faster because you can swamp it out a lot faster, right? And that works pretty well. Like if you're playing a Bogner or a Friedman or something like that, these short tubes are going to work pretty well. Now for my amps, they are not high gain amps. I use long plate tubes wherever I can and whenever I can get them because they throw more information. You get a little more detail out of your guitar. You have a little bit more dynamic range because it doesn't distort as quickly, right? Hi, Darla. I got another dog here. Hello, doggies. You want to come up and say hi? Come on. Come on. Say hi to everybody. Come on, Darla Bean. Yeah. Oh, you sweet dog. Yeah, you sweet doggy. Thank you. Oh, a nice kiss. Okay, I got to get back to work now, okay? I love you. So Uh, anyway, it's kind of horses for courses, right? Um, I prefer long plate tubes, but not always. Like these Mullers, I just told you I got these i6s. They're medium plate tubes. They're in between these two links, right? The medium plate ones to me sound great for playing dirty rock and roll. Um, and I think they work really well. Rob Price says, I have the Dr. Z PhD with the 6SL7 preamp. Yeah, it's great. It's a fun rig for sure. I use 6SL7s in the preamp of the bass amp we used to make called the Apollo. And it sounded like an old B-15. It was really good, but only it worked. And you could run a modern bass into it without it distorting. Javier, what are those rings often put on V1? I put those on ours to knock down vibration. So a long plate tube, now here's the downside of a long plate tube, right? They're susceptible to vibration, which, microphonics, you'll hear a rattle, you'll hear buzz. They're also more susceptible to RF and noise because there's a bigger plate there. It's a bigger antenna. So I like to put heat shrink on them or just little rubber rings to dampen them. It's like a shock absorber. And it keeps them quiet, especially on EF86s. EF86s literally have 10 times the gain of a 12AX7. So a vibration in that tube gets amplified really loudly. So that's why I put rings on there to keep them quiet, to insulate them from vibration. Anyway, Mike, I hope I answered your question on the plates of the tubes. It's kind of an ambiguous answer because there's no here's the thing. You guys have heard me talk about it. I get really annoyed since the internet came around. And I'm old enough to remember when the internet actually happened, right? People, all of a sudden, everyone became an expert. Everyone took it upon themselves to tell you what to think or you what to do, which is complete and utter bullshit. You can like whatever you like. You can play whatever you want to play. If you like it, it's good. And there's a lot of frustrated rock and roll lawyers and CPAs on a certain forum. I won't say the name, Gear Page, because that would be rude. That like to dictate to you how to think or what to enjoy. And I really have a problem with that. I think it's just inappropriate as hell. But that's only I never heard anyone speak that way until all of a sudden there were forums about gear. And, people say things that are just astonishingly aggressive and inappropriate. I'm here to tell you, I can tell you what I like. Does that mean you should like it or you would like it or you will like it? I have no idea. But back to the thing, I think it's worth your time. Go on eBay and get any Mullard 12X7 that kind of works. Try it. You don't have to live with it forever. You can get them for $25. And put them in your amp, and you'll hear the sound that they have. Are they top performing and perfect? No, doesn't matter. What you're doing is taste testing, right? So you don't want to blow a whole bunch of money taste testing. And let me tell you, when you buy an NOS tube, a real NOS tube, not one that measures NOS, we've talked about that, right? That's also complete P.T. Barnum nonsense. Tubes are either NOS or they're not. They don't measure NOS. There's no measurement for NOS. But anyway, buy you a Mullard, buy a Telefunken, buy an RCA, buy a GE, buy a Sylvania, buy a Tongue Sol, buy an Amperex. You're going to spend a few $100, $200. That's right, Bob. The anonymity makes for tough guys, right? That's for sure. The anonymity of forums encourages the weak of mind and character. That's well said, Bob. Thank you. I like that quite a bit. So go buy those. Now, here's the good news. The ones you don't like, just resell them or give them to a friend or put them in your desk, so you can use them for later. Also, your taste will drift over time. And what you like in one amp doesn't mean you're going to like it in another amp. So it's good to have some vocabulary laying around in your toolbox of tubes that you can play with. Anyway, so after you do that, you're going to start realizing, oh, I tend to gravitate towards this tube. And then go out and get maybe one that's a little better spec, and a little better shape maybe. Or maybe not. I'm here to tell you, those cheap poo-poo tubes on eBay all work. As long as they're measuring over about 75%, they're fine. Even 50, 60% tubes will work and sound good. Now, again, I want to remind you, every brand new tube that you buy, the best one's going to measure 77% or something. So, yeah, you can buy an Amplitrax and test for a bunch of parameters. Yeah, I buy tubes from people that's my favorite tube tester. So if they're testing on an Amplitrax, I believe the numbers. It's a very expensive unit, though. I think it's $1,500 or something. It's a lot. I have an old Hickok tube tester, but it's not near as accurate as those. But everything that I buy, like those Mullards, I'm going to show you when the amp shows up, Peter. I bought them from guys that showed me Amplitrax numbers. It's worth it for you to buy an Amplitrax if you're playing with a lot of tubes. Like if you're going to go buy and sell a lot of tubes, it's worth it, but it's a lot of money. And for something you're going to use every year or two or something, these tube benders use them every day, so it makes sense for them. But the Amplitrax is by far the most accurate. It's a good point you bring up, Javier. So when you're shopping for tubes, look for Amplitrax numbers. I believe they are legit. They're good. You can count on those. So anyway, tube talk, man. But that's just my opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I think spending money on tubes is really well spent money. It's also going to keep you from being disappointed buying affordable tubes forever. So if you're like, well, I can't buy a Mullard, a good one's, $75, but I can buy one of these for $30. Does that really make sense? It's your guitar amp. It's you playing guitar. It's, for many people, myself included, nothing more enjoyable and important than playing guitar and, hey, look, a credit card. I'll be damned. Than playing guitar and being happy. Why would you deny yourself that for the cost of dinner? Right? Literally, just make a sandwich at home one night, don't go out to dinner, and you can afford that tube. And if you need to buy a few of them, don't have to buy them all at once. Buy one this month, buy one in two months. Bob Dragich correctly says even the inexpensive tube testers will at least give you the relative reading you can use to compare. Yeah, that's true. You don't get plate current and plate and inductance and resistance and all that stuff. You just get transconductance, which works. That'll tell you how much electricity it's passing. So that's my thought for the day. I really think there's no reason to not double negative. There's not a good reason to avoid buying good tubes. It's money well spent. You'll spend hundreds of dollars buying cheap tubes when you could have just spent $100 buying a few good tubes, and you're in good shape. If you want to get vintage power tubes, they can get very expensive. But you can find ones that are affordable, like the ones that I got, the Mullards that I have over here. They're not labeled Mullard. They're actually labeled GE. GE they needed EL34s. They bought them from Mullard. And it says General Electric, made in Great Britain. And it's a double halo XF2 Blackburn factory Mullard EL34. Now, because it says GE on them instead of Mullard, I got them for 1/3 the price. And they're the exact same tube except for a little bit of paint on there that no one's ever going to see when you're playing guitar. So if your ego is such that I want to go on the gear page and show people my amazingly fresh tubes, hey man, good for you. That's your choice. But I don't know that that's really the smartest way to go. Anyway, I'll quit ranting about tubes. But that's been the thing, man, ever since the internet. What is this? There's random tubes on my desk. What is this? Oh, it's an old 6v6. This is a Jan RCA 6v. Speaking of old. So do you guys know about Jan tubes? See Jan 6v6 there. Joint Army Navy is what that means. These are tubes that were delivered to the military. They often have a brown base instead of a black base. I hope I have a match for that somewhere. It should be in my desk. I should put that in this Monterey. Right there. Anyway, Joint Army Navy. So the Army and Navy wanted tubes that were tested. Excuse me, Jesus. They wanted tubes that tested perfectly. So they're extremely tightly spec'd, and they're the best performing tubes. So the Joint Army Navy spec is often above what you would see as a minimum for retail tubes. So if you see any tubes out there that say JAN, Joint Army Navy, buy them. You'll be very happy with them. They are all very good sounding and rugged, seriously rugged. They had to take them to war, so they didn't want to go, golly, I hope these tubes last, These were heavily, heavily spec tubes. So let me show you that again, just in case. That's RCA Jan 6v6. I know I have a match for this in my desk somewhere. I probably pulled it out on one of these shows, and judging from the plate structure on this, I'm guessing this is late 50s, probably. Anyway, guys, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going over to Michael DeTemple's to work on a guitar that I'm building over there. Michael has finally decided to let me see behind the curtain and see how they do frets, which you've never seen fret work like this. Oh my God. It's unbelievable how good the frets are on his guitars. Javier, you asked if he was still taking orders on guitars. I think he has some guitars to sell. I'll find out today if he's taking more orders. They're the best Telecasters and Stratocasters made, for sure. They're expensive. They're very expensive. So you've got to be prepared for that. But I will, Bob. I told him last week, too, that you were around. I've been asking Michael for over 20 years to show me how he does his frets, and he said, if I show you, you won't come back. Now he's showing me. So his son-in-law, Johnny, is actually teaching me. Johnny has apprenticed with him for 10 years, I think. Johnny can do it, and they're showing me. I have pictures. I'll share them with you when I'm all done working on this Telecaster that I'm building. I told you about this with the wood that, sure, Javier, I didn't mean to forget you there. When I had that 51 Telecaster here, I took it over to Michael and said, what is the secret to this guitar? Why does it ring so good? He goes, it's the neck. That's an unusually good piece of maple. Probably doesn't even need a truss rod in it. And he goes, I'll tell you, Michael's, he's getting a little up there, and he's starting to think about, life. And he goes, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I want to copy this neck. I really want to make one. And he said, I will donate a piece of wood to you. Thanks for dropping by, Mark. Appreciate it. I will donate a piece of wood to you. It is roasted quarter sawn maple that he bought, I think, about 30 years ago. And it was old then. And he said, it's been aging up in my storage space this whole time for decades. I'm going to give you a piece of it. And I took it over to Lance Lerman, and we cut it on his CNC machine. We did amazing measurements of that, every fret. We made a mold and measured everything at every fret of that 51 Tele. And we cut it on the CNC machine. It's not a Fender. It doesn't, just relax, guys, at Fender. It's just a fucking guitar. But anyway, it's perfect. It's amazing. So we're putting frets on it. We're going to finish it today. I worked on it. I got to put like 4 frets on it or something. Finally learning how to do this at the shop. And we're going to finish it today and then snip the ends and start doing the fret dressing that I'm going to learn. Michael has a secret of how he shapes the landscape of the neck and everything. And I'll tell you all about it once it's all done. And I'll have the guitar. It should be playing within a week or two. I'm waiting on Ron Ellis is mailing me some pickups for it, and which should be arriving any day. And yeah. Any updates on it's just in process. Right now, we're building it, and they're squeezing me in down there, right? So they're not stopping their production to make my stuff. They're squeezing me in. So I have to be a polite guest about it and just go on their schedule and make it work, which is what we're doing. And I think it's going to turn out great. The engineer that I'm working with is fantastic. I'm very happy with him. Very smart guy. And I think it's going to turn out really good. Really good. Working on Transformers next, all that stuff. So, but fellas, I got to run. I got to run over to Michael's. And yeah, Haas, I'll send you some pictures on Messenger. It's roasted, so it's dark, you know. But yeah, it's got oil finish on it, and then lacquer on the headstock and everything. But the rest of it was oil. I like the oil finish because it's really fast. Like you feel like you're just on air when you play an oil finish. So anyway, it's all good, my brothers. And Howard Johnson, where did you go? You said hi and then left. What's the deal, dude? I haven't talked to you in how long? I don't know. Anyway, I do got to run. I'm going to get a quick bite, check on my kids, and run over to Michael's and work for the afternoon. Woo! All right, my brothers. It's a real pleasure. You're welcome, Spruce Creek. We can talk about tubes and stuff all you want. I think I have a pretty pragmatic perspective on this stuff instead of a really, opinionated, obtuse stance. The main thing is if you like it, it's good. I don't care what it is. It could literally be the cheapest Chinese, Tic Tac of a tube. If you like it, it sounds great. And it might sound great with you playing it. Why not? This pride of snobbiness it's not what we are, man. We're musicians, dude. Like, we're players. We're guitar players. We're brotherhood, peace, love, understanding, brotherhood, right? We're not a bunch of a-holes that buy, what do you call it? I'm really tired. I'm losing my vocabulary. People that buy things. Status symbols. Status symbols are useless in this world, man. A nice old guitar and a nice old amp sound just as good as any status symbol piece of gear you're ever going to buy. And if you're happy with it, that's the best status of all, right? Come on. All right, I got to run. Love you guys. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next week. To be continued.